Guys, this video is going to be for the properties of water lab. So the first activity, we have water in this little dish right here, and then I have a paper clip. So I'm going to take the paper clip and I'm going to carefully set it on top of the water, and we'll observe what happens. So I set the paper clip on the water and it is floating on the surface of the water. I'm going to do the same thing with the second paper clip. I'm going to do this one on a different substance. It's called 2-propanol. So that one, the paper clip dropped to the bottom. I did the same thing. I tried to gently place it on the surface and it sunk to the bottom. So in the water, the paper clip is floating on the surface, and in the 2-propanol, it sank to the bottom. All right, let's move on to the next activity. So in this activity, let's see, you have a burette filled with water, which is right here. So I can turn this, and then it'll be a little hard to see, but there's a stream of water coming down. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this plastic drinking straw, and I'm going to rub it with a paper towel. I'm going to rub the paper towel across the plastic drinking straw. And then I'm going to let the water flow again, and I'm going to hold the drinking straw near it, and we'll see what happens to the flow of the water. It's going to be a little hard to see because of that background. Maybe I'll move this around this way. Maybe you guys can see it better. That might be better. So if we put this next to it, we can see that the stream of water bends towards the straw. So we hold the straw near it, it bends towards the straw. I never touched it all the way to the water, but I'm just getting it near it, and it's pulling it in the direction of the straw. All right, let's check out our next activity. So our next activity is right here. And so I have some water, and this is a piece of wax paper. So I'm going to take the water and put some drops of water on the wax paper. We're going to kind of see how it behaves. So we're going to kind of slide it around and see the drops that it forms, how it moves around on the water. It's kind of all gathered into one big droplet of water, and it moves across the wax paper in one big drop. And then we'll do the same thing over here with oil. So there's a beaker with oil in it. I'm going to do the same thing. I'll put about the same amount of oil on the wax paper, and then we'll try to let it slide around. It moves a lot slower. And then you can also see it just kind of spreads out on its own. It doesn't stay clumped up. So the water again over here, when I move it around, it has like one big droplet of water. It all slides together. And then the oil moves a lot slower, and it just kind of spreads out. It doesn't really stick together. It just kind of spreads out and forms a sheet across the wax paper. All right, so that was the third activity. This is the fourth activity. So in this activity, I have two containers, A and B, and they have two different liquids in them. And I'm going to take some ice cubes. I'll just put a couple ice cubes, about the same amount of ice into each of these. All right, so same amount of ice into each of these, and we'll observe what happens. All right, and so you can see in beaker A, the ice cubes are floating on top, and in B, the ice cubes have sank to the bottom. All right, so in beaker A, the ice cubes are floating on the surface, and in beaker B, they have sank to the bottom. All right, next activity. We are coming over here. This is activity number 5, investigation number 5. And so on this activity, I have some hot water, and I'm going to measure out some hot water into this beaker. And then into a second beaker, I'm going to put the same amount of cold water. Okay, so I've got hot and cold water, and I put the same amount of water into each of the beakers. All right, and now what I have here is some sugar. And so I'm going to add sugar to each beaker, and I'm going to add the same amount. So I'll do 1 scoop to each. So 1 scoop into each, and I'll stir them a little bit and get them to dissolve. And you can see that in the hot water, all that sugar has dissolved. In the cold water, I'm stirring still, and it's almost dissolved. Let's do one more scoop into each. So there's 2 scoops into the hot and 2 scoops into the cold. And then we'll stir these a little bit more. So again, the hot water has formed a solution. It's all dissolved. You can't see any more solid particles left in there. But in the cold, I still have a bunch of solid particles left at the bottom. It has not fully dissolved. Let's try to go one more into the hot water. And so we've had 3 scoops of sugar dissolve in the hot one, only 2 dissolved in the cold one. Let's try to put even a little bit more into the warm water. That looks like it's just about at the limit. So I was able to get about 4 scoops of sugar into the hot water and get it to dissolve, whereas in the cold I was only able to get 2 scoops of sugar in and get it to dissolve, and there's still a little bit left at the bottom of the cold one. So 4 scoops into the warm water and only 2 scoops into the cold water. All right, we got one more investigation to look at. Let's come over here. So I've got 3 beakers here, and so this is the first one, beaker A, and beaker A is this blue solution, and then beaker B is this kind of cloudy white one, and C is this cloudy brown one. All right, and so what we're going to look at here is I'm going to take a flashlight and I'm going to shine it through each one of these, and we're going to see if we see any differences. So I've got a flashlight and I'm shining it through beaker A with this blue liquid in it, and you can't really see it, the light just passes through it. I'm going to do the same thing in beaker B with the white liquid in it, and what you should be able to see here is that the beam of light is actually able to be seen in that solution. So you can actually see the beam of light as it passes through that white solution, because there's little particles and the light is bouncing off of it. So you can actually see the beam of light when it goes through that one. And then through this one, the cloudy one, the light just kind of gets blocked. So the light does not pass all the way through. I know it's a little hard to see this on the video, but the light goes kind of maybe halfway through this, and then it doesn't really pass through the other side because it's being blocked by that liquid. The other thing we can see here is filtering these liquids. So this first beaker, beaker A, when I put it through the filter, nothing was left in the filter, and all the particles went through here to the bottom. With this beaker B, the cloudy white one, a few little particles were collected in the filter paper, but you can see that the liquid that passed through is still very cloudy. And then in the third beaker, beaker C, the brown one, we can see that a lot of particles were caught by the filter paper, and we can see that the liquid that passed through it is clear, so there's no brown color to it anymore. So A, the blue color still passed through, in B, the white color passed through, but in C, that brown color did not pass through, and the filter paper actually took out all of the color from that. All right, so that should be all the information you guys need for the lab. We are not going to be doing investigation 8 of this, or sorry, investigation 7 of this lab. We're only doing the first 6 investigations. All right, so you guys can answer all the questions and finish your lab.